Hello students, Assalamu alaikum. Today we will talk about, rather we will discuss about fuels. As in previous lectures, we discussed about renewable and non-renewable sources of energy, but today our topic is fuel. What are fuels? Fuels are the materials, these are the materials that are burnt to produce heat. Means those materials which are burnt to produce heat are called fuels. We use different types of fuels to produce heat. First, these fuels have two categories. One is the combustible, and other is non-combustible. Combustible means those materials which are burned to produce heat, while as non-combustible materials or the non-combustible substances are those substances which are not burned to produce heat, while as the energy is sought from its kinetic or potential energy. Today we are discussing about the fuels that are burned to produce heat, and we use different types of fuels. There are different types of fuels, just as we burn wood, charcoal, petrol, cooking gas, hydrogen gas or kerosene. These are a few fuels that are used to produce the heat energy. Heat in itself is a form of energy. But before we discuss these fuels or their energy that they produce, there are two terms we must be aware about. The two terms, one is the calorific value, while as other is the ignition temperature. What this calorific value means and ignition temperature means. The calorific value is the maximum amount of heat that is produced by burning 1 gram of a fuel. For example, if we burn 1 gram of this charcoal, we get a heat energy of 33,000 joules. Why joules? Because joule is the unit of this energy, heat energy. We measure this type of energy, that is heat energy, in terms of joules. This is the smallest, joule is the smallest unit of this heat energy. And second one is the ignition temperature. What this ignition temperature means? Ignition temperature is the lowest temperature. It is the lowest temperature at any substance catches fire. That is called the ignition temperature. यानी जो फ्यूल्स है, फ्यूल को हम ईंधन भी कहते हैं, तो जो ईंधन है ये वो मटेरियल है, यानी वो चीजें हैं जिनको जलाने से हमें गर्मी की तवानाई मिलती है, तो उसी को हम फ्यूल्स कहते हैं, उन्हीं सब्सटेंसेस को फ्यूल्स कहते हैं और उन्हीं मटेरियल्स को हम फ्यूल्स कहते हैं. लेकिन फ्यूल्स जो हीट प्रोड्यूस करते हैं और जो एनर्जी प्रोड्यूस करते हैं, इसके लिए ज़रूरी है हमें जानना this calorific value and the ignition temperature. As I told you that calorific value is the maximum amount of heat produced on burning 1 gram of fuel. यानी जब हम 1 ग्राम फ्यूल जलाएंगे, उससे जितनी भी हीट एनर्जी हमें मिलेगी उसे हम कहेंगे दिस विल बी द कैलोरिफिक. ये उस सब्सटेंस का या उस मटेरियल का जिसका 1 ग्राम जला के हमें एक खास किस्म की हीट एनर्जी मिलती है, उसे हम कहते हैं कैलोरीफिक वैल्यू। एंड सेकंड वन दैट इग्निशन टेम्परेचर, ये ऐसा ताप है यानी ऐसी गर्मी है, कम से कम जिस ताप पे या जिस गर्मी पे कोई भी मटेरियल या कोई भी चीज जो है आग पकड़ लेगी। When it catches fire, the lowest temperature at any substance or any material catches fire is called the ignition temperature. Now, how we will measure this heat and this heat energy? The unit of this heat energy is the joule, 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 in the name of the scientist that is joule. Joule is the smallest unit of energy. Then it was upgraded as kilojoules. And this joule, when we multiply 1 joule by 1000, we get 1 kilojoule. That means if we burn 1 gram of wood, we get 17 kilojoules. That means in smallest form it is 17,000 joules. 17,000 joules is 1 kilojoule. So the calorific value of this wood is 17 kilojoules, while as charcoal is 33 kilojoules, petrol is 50 kilojoules, cooking gas is 50 kilojoules. Hydrogen, the calorific value of this hydrogen is the highest one, that is 150 kilojoules, while as this kerosene oil has a calorific value of 48 kilojoules. So this is about fuels. Now, the characteristics of fuel, how we will choose the best fuel. We have to choose the best fuel which will be convenient for us so that we may use it in our daily life. First, the first characteristic of an ideal fuel or a good fuel is that it must have high calorific value. High calorific value. That means if we burn, we will opt that type of fuel which on burning 1 gram of fuel gives the maximum amount of heat, means its calorific value must be high. If we will compare these fuels, so the better one fuel is the hydrogen. Either we have to use hydrogen or we can use petrol or cooking gas. Cooking gas is 50 kilojoules per gram. If we burn 1 gram of petrol, we get 50 kilojoules of heat energy. If we will burn this cooking gas, 1 gram of cooking gas, we get 50 kilojoules of heat energy. So those fuels which has the high calorific value are chosen to be used, are known as ideal fuels or the best fuels. Second one is low ignition temperature. Low ignition temperature means that fuel which has the low ignition temperature, means any substance or the material that catches fire at the lowest temperature will be the best fuel for us, chosen as best fuel. Third one, these fuels, first, the ideal fuel has the high calorific value, low ignition temperature, and it must be smokeless. Smokeless. It should not pollute the environment. Pollute the environment. This is the characteristics of an ideal fuel. Next one, it should be cheap. Cheap. It should be easily available to us. We opt to that fuel which is always available to us, and this is the characteristic of an ideal or good fuel. Now next one is easy to handle. Easy to handle. easy to handle. So that fuel which we can handle easily is the characteristic of a good or an ideal fuel. Next one is easy to store. Easy to store. So that fuel which we can store easily or comfortably is the characteristic of best fuel. This was the total deliberation on these fuels. So see you in next class. Thank you, Peter. Okay, take care. Best of luck.